Hello students, we are back again with mathematics senior 4. You are again with teacher Walter, and now we are here to deal with unit 1 of senior 4, which is none other than fundamentals of trigonometry. So trigonometry has many parts. We shall have some of these in senior 4, and we shall have another part of trigonometry in senior 5. And we shall have also another one also in the middle of senior 5. So ladies and gentlemen, here we are going to talk about trigonometric concept. If you see within the word trigonometry, we have two words which are from Greek. The word trigonometry, is made or is derived of two Greek words. It's from two Greek words which are trigon. We have trigon, which means triangle, triangle, and we have another word, metric, which means measures, So we have two words that are making the word trigonometry. We have number one, which is trigon, and that's why we have here trigon. Then we have this trigon means triangle, and we have metric, which means measures. So from these two words, ladies and gentlemen, we can define what is trigonometry all about. So we shall see that trigonometry is defined as measurements of a triangle. Measurements in a triangle. So trigonometry is defined. It is defined as measurements in a triangle. So, ladies and gentlemen, when I mean measurements in a triangle, what do you understand? So, measurements in a triangle, we shall see that if we have any triangle, it's made of 3 sides and 3 angles. So, when we mean a triangle, any triangle that you can talk about, here it will be made of 3 sides. The first side is AB, the second side is BC, and we shall have the last side, which is AC. And here, ladies and gentlemen, we also have an angle A, we have an angle B, and we have an angle C. So every triangle will be made of 3 sides and 3 angles. So ladies and gentlemen, if they mean the measurements in a triangle, here they want to talk about the sides and the angles of a triangle. So in trigonometry, we shall talk about this. That's why you have to have that. Trigonometry is defined as measurements in a triangle. So ladies and gentlemen, here we shall see later on what is an angle. So we are going to talk about an angle and its measurements. We shall talk about angle, what is an angle, and now after we shall see the measurements, angle and its measurements, angles and its measurements. So which means we shall see what is an angle and how do we measure angles. So what is an angle, ladies and gentlemen? So when we talk about an angle, we shall see that an angle is an opening that two straight lines form when they meet. An angle is an opening. It's an opening that two straight lines make when they meet. So ladies and gentlemen, this is what we call an angle. So an angle is an opening that two straight lines make when they meet. So it means that I shall have here, for example, a straight line AB. Ladies and gentlemen, if I have this straight line AB and I have another straight line that I can call AC here, so I have C here from A here. So when these two straight lines meet at this point A, they make an angle here. You can see this is an angle which is made from the meeting of these two straight lines. So they meet here and they form an angle that you can call an angle theta, ladies and gentlemen. So this is what we call an angle. We cannot talk about an angle when you don't have two straight lines. And then when they open and they make an opening here, and where they meet, it's what we call an angle. So I hope everyone have understood what is an angle. So we are on now to see the measurements of an angle. So ladies and gentlemen, we shall see that we can measure angles in different units. So we measure angles. Angles can be measured in what? In periods. First, we can measure angles in period. We can also measure angles in degrees. They can also be measured in radians. They can be measured in radians. They can be measured also in grades. And also finally, we have period, degrees, radians, and grades. That's all, and grades. So these are different units that you can measure angles in periods, degrees, radians, and grades. And then all of these units, they have, all of these measurements, they have one relationship that relate all of them and connect all of them. So we have the relationship of these, they have one relationship, they have one relationship, they have one relationship which is that we shall see that one period, ladies and gentlemen, one period equals to what? It will be, one period will be equal to 360 degrees, and it will also be equal to 2 pi radian, to be equal to 2 pi radian, and this will be equal to 400 grades. 400 grades. So, ladies and gentlemen, all these are measurements of an angle. So we can measure an angle in a period, and this is equivalent, if we have one period, it means we have 360 degrees, and this is a complete circle. It will also be equal to 2 pi radian, and this will be equal to 400 grades. So this relationship, ladies and gentlemen, we shall use it to change from one unity to any other. Whether we want to change from degrees to radians, we shall use this. If we want to change from radian to grades, or degrees to grades, or to pre-period, we shall use always this relationship. This relationship can also be simplified in another way. So, ladies and gentlemen, we can also have it as 1/2 period. If we divide all of this by 2, we have 1/2 period, and this will be equal to 180 degrees, and this will be equal to pi radian, which is also equal to 200 grades. So, which means that while converting from one unit to another, we can use either the first relationship or the second one, which are always the same, only that this one we have divided by 2. And most of the time we shall use this very simplified one, which means that 1 period, 1 over 2 period, a half of a period, of course, will be equal to 180 degrees, and this is pi radian, and it is 200. Great. So ladies and gentlemen, we are going to see how now we can convert from one to another. And most of the time we see that we shall use these two ones. We shall mainly use degrees and radians, because most of the time we measure angles in degrees and in radians, but it doesn't mean that we also have these other units. So ladies and gentlemen, let's see now how we can convert from degrees to radians, or also from radians to degrees. So let's see converting an angle from degree to radians, to radian, and vice versa. And vice versa. This means we can also convert from radians to degree. It will depend to what we want. Ladies and gentlemen, if we want to convert from degree to radians, we have degree. We shall use this diagram. We have from degree to radian. How do we do when we want to convert from degree to radian, ladies and gentlemen? If we are converting from degrees to radian, we are from degree and we want to see what it will be in radians. Here, ladies and gentlemen, we are going this way, and we have to multiply by 180 degrees. We divide by pi. So if we are going to multiply by, because we are from degrees to radians, we shall multiply by pi over 180 degrees. And then we shall have the angle into radian. So ladies and gentlemen, if we are from radian to degree, if we are from radians to degrees, we shall also do this. We shall now multiply by 180 degrees over pi. So ladies and gentlemen, if we are from radians to degrees, we shall multiply by 180 degrees, and now we come back to degrees. So we shall use this diagram while converting. So if we are converting from degrees, we multiply by pi over 180 degrees. Ladies and gentlemen, I will give you an example, and we have the angle into radian. And if we are from radians to degrees, we of course multiply by 180 degrees over pi, and we have now an angle into degrees. Ladies and gentlemen, let us have some examples where we are converting from degrees to radians and from radians to degrees. I will serve you with one example, and I will leave you with a lot of exercise to do that will help you to understand more. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's have an example. We have an example. Convert from degree to radian, or vice versa, because we can also come from radian to degrees. To depend to what we have. I have number A. We shall convert 90 degrees into radians, and I have now B, where we shall convert now from radians to degrees, and there we have pi over 6. So ladies and gentlemen, we are going to do together these two things, and we have understood. So I want to see number A. Number A is 90 degrees. So we want to convert and see 90 degrees is equivalent to how many radians. So there, what do? We just take 90 degrees, we multiply by, ladies and gentlemen, pi over 180 degrees. Here we want to convert from degrees to radians. I have told you in my diagram that we shall multiply by pi over 180 degrees. So ladies and gentlemen, what do we do here? We simplify these zeros, and we just simplify 9 by 18 by 9, and here you have 2, and then here you have 1, ladies and gentlemen. And this means what? This means that I will have, I remain with 1 times pi. This means pi over 2 radian. So this is radian. And ladies and gentlemen, this means that 90 degrees is equivalent to pi over 2 radian. I think it is clear. We just multiply by pi over 100, and we do simple simplifications until we get this. Ladies and gentlemen, one mistake that most of my students make is that they like to put into these decimals, which is not good. Don't put this into decimals, rather you should leave it into fractions. It means if you simplify and you remain with this fraction, don't change it into decimals. Some of my students are likely to write 0.5 pi, which is not true. You leave it into fractions. It will be pi over 2. Number B, we are now converting pi over 6 radian into degrees. Ladies and gentlemen, how do we do? I've told you that when we are converting from radian to degrees, we only multiply by the inverse of this, which will be 180 degrees over pi. So I have pi times 180, then I divide by, because there was 6 here, 6 now times what? Times pi. Because I have multiplied, it's like I have multiplied by 180 degrees over pi, ladies and gentlemen. And what do? I just do simple simplifications. Pi will go with this, and I remain with 1. And then a 6 here, I simplify with this, ladies and gentlemen, and I will remain with 30 degrees. So you will see that the remainder here is 30, and we have here 30 degrees, ladies and gentlemen. So you will see that pi over 6 radian is equivalent to 30 degrees. So which means that I have converted from degrees, from radians to degrees, and I have shown you that we can also convert from degrees to radians. Ladies and gentlemen, when you reach home now, you will do this for your better understanding. So, ladies and gentlemen, after seeing how we have been converting from radian to degrees and from degrees to radians, you can also try this on your own. You will convert this 180 degrees. You will now convert it into radians. Number B, you will convert, ladies and gentlemen, 45 degrees. Ladies and gentlemen, you will also try to convert from degrees 60 degrees. And lastly, you will convert from radians to degrees the following. And this is 2 pi over 3. You try to convert this from this radians to degrees. And lastly, you will also convert from radian to degrees from 3 pi over 2. So ladies and gentlemen, if you try the 5 ones, you will be able to understand how we can convert from degrees to radians or from radians to degrees. Thank you very much for today. This was all about trigonometry of Senior 4, and this was the first lesson. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you for the second lesson next time, which will be, of course, all about this. We shall be keeping on, and we shall see what is a unit circle. And ladies and gentlemen, everyone will understand how we use all of this in a circle, and we measure all angles. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you for following us on our YouTube channel, which is Ikaramu TV. Ikaramu TV. Here, ladies and gentlemen, you will find all the videos that have passed before and all the videos that will pass here later, so that you can follow us. Remember to subscribe and to share for your friends. And ladies and gentlemen, if this is not enough for you, you can also visit our website, which is www. ubumenyi.net. So ladies and gentlemen, if you also follow us on this website, we find here all about what we are dealing with, exercise, note, homework, and more work. And we can chat here for more explanation and understanding. Thank you very much. See you next.